I do believe that Jesus Christ was a great yogi. Huh. Um, he was walking on the streets of Jerusalem with just one cloth to wear, breaking bread wherever people offered him bread. In Sanskrit, in India, we would call such a being a Parivrajak. And his spiritual attainment was, see, look, the old rule of the Old Testament, the law, the Mosaic law, is an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. Jesus pushed it aside. But it is also the old law of Moses. I mean, it comes from the Old Testament, an eye for an eye and a tooth. Now, if you go into the teachings of this wandering saint who had no place to stay, even sadhus have ashrams. Here was a man who said, the foxes have dens and the snakes have holes, but the Son of Man has no place to lay his head. You know, a typical wandering yogi, very typical. I'm not saying he was Indian, no. He was, of course, the son of Joseph. So, this man spoke publicly saying, you have heard it had been said by them of old time, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. But I say unto you, bless them that curse you, do good to them that hate you, and pray for them that despitefully use you and persecute you. How? First of all, who has the guts to stand there and preach near the temple of Solomon of the Jews and say that I'm changing the law now? No more eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. Bless them that curse you. So here was a spiritual being. Whether he was connected to Kashmir or whether, it doesn't matter really. Here was his, what if he is not? If he was only in Jerusalem? Who cares? But he was a spiritual being. And one thing, the 12 years he was not seen there. When he came back after 12 years, people don't know what happened during those 12 years. So there are various speculations. He went to Kashmir. There is a tomb which they show and say, oh, here is Jesus. I don't believe it, honestly. Nor does Maheshwarnath Babaji degree. He said it must be some guy who came from the east who is buried there, but not Jesus. He said Jesus is not buried anywhere. So anyway, and he had great regard. Once somebody asked him, how come you have the images of so many, people worship so many images in India, but only the Christians worship Jesus? He said, because the Christians call him the Son of God, but we worship him as God. He said, if Jesus was in India, he would have been one of the avatars. So here was a great yogi. Probably in these 12 years, he went to some great teachers. Much of his teaching is also Buddhist oriented. Also, peace, non-violence, right? And he could have also studied under a sect which existed near the Dead Sea called the Nazarenes. The Nazarenes were a very yogic kind of, similar to yogis, sect who settled down and who were vegetarian and who had simple bread to eat and who practiced different kinds of meditation, about which if you need any more information, you should read the texts of the old Christians before the church was formed, like the Pistis Sophia and so on. Where the details are given how to lead a life and how to reach the Lord. And from the fact that he proclaimed that he and his Father are one, is an indication of the understanding that in the heart is the soul which is a part of the divine. And so there is no difference. And very many people forget that Jesus never spoke Hebrew. He spoke a language called Aramaic. which is very close to the Syrian language today. So all his speeches and talks were in Aramic, not Arabic, Aramic. So if you ask me, even if Jesus is not, he may be connected to some Indian sages, I cannot deny this. Even if he is not by himself, he is a greatly realized master, a teacher. Pick up a few from the Old Testament, a few statements. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. Blessed, not blessed are the Christians, blessed are the peacemakers. If the Christian also makes war, he is not a peacemaker. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. Words of Jesus from Matthew, Luke, Mark, any gospel. Blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. I'm not a Christian preacher, okay? I'm not a missionary. And lay treasures in your heart where thieves do not break in and steal. Find the treasure in your heart where no thief can break in and steal. What is this? What does this mean? We know what it means. It means the treasure is here. It's not anywhere outside. No thief can break in and steal here. And the second, then last, there are many. You are the salt of the earth, but if the salt has lost its savour, wherewith shall it be salted? He said the human beings are the salt of the earth. If salt has lost its saltishness, what use is this salt then? And then last, let me quote, blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. So, blessed are the pure in heart. Do they have to be Christians or Muslims or Hindus or Buddhists? Pure in heart, finished. And this cannot come from someone unless he had touched the spiritual core. And the guts to say that, standing in front of the temple, you can't unless you know who you are and where you are. You can't do that. You can't break the Sabbath and say, oh, the law was made for man, not man for the law.